So the topic of my presentation is Blake set music, and poetry and music share similar sound characteristics such as rhythmic patterns, stresses, tempo variations, pitch inflection, and melodic phrases. And the two arts also share the emphasis on the spontaneous expressions of various emotions. Poetry is basically language. When it's spoken out, language can be music because all the words showcase their own rhythms, pace, and sound inflections. And poems are hence called verbal music, and good poets create this kind of verbal music in different ways. In the Western art song tradition, great composers like Beethoven and Mozart, they all set the poems of their favorite poets and writers to music. And when a composer sets a poem to music, the words acquire another format, another quality, another dimension, and the words are expressed in musical sounds, which add new colors to the pitch, rhythm, and texture of the original poem text. And the poem text I'd like to talk about today is William Blake's The Echoing Green. The poem describes the joy and fun of children playing on the spring field and how the old folks' childhood memories are echoing in those children's playful activities. And the poem reflects one of the major philosophies Blake includes in many of his works. Things exist in contrary states in which they're not against each other. They're to some extent interconnected and interchangeable. I list 9 pairs of contraries I found in this poem here, and they are sunrise versus sunset, beginning versus end, children versus old folks, joy versus worries, sports versus rest, sound versus silence, present versus past, reality versus memories, and echoing versus darkening. And the first stanza depicts the sunrise scene at the beginning of a day and a new year, while the third stanza describes the sunset scene and the ending of a day. The poem is told from children's perspective as well as from old people's perspective, and the children and the birds are energetic, having fun, and making cheerful sounds on the green field, while the old folks are sitting under a tree, watching them playing and recalling their youthful memories. At the end of the poem, though the daylight is fading away into darkness, it does not feel like that everything has come to an end accordingly. It makes me think otherwise that it is more like a never-ending cycle of life in which everything lives, dies, and finds a new life in one form or another. And everything could therefore, in this poem, be seen as being pure and blended, being transient and eternal at the same time. Even when the old folks sing in stanza 2, recalling their younger days and saying that such were the joys when we were girls and boys, I still feel that their joy is related to a mixed kind of emotion that Blake wrote about in his Auguries of Innocence. He wrote that joy and woe are woven fine, a closing for the soul divine. Every Under every grief and pine runs a joy with silken twine. And in the song adaptation I did for this poem, I tried to reflect this contrary perspective. And I took some lines from stanza 1 and 3 to form the worst part of the song, and I took some lines from stanza 2 to form the chorus part of the song. And to create a similar contrary effect in the song, the worst part is told from the children's perspective, while the chorus part is told from the old folks' perspective. And the lines in orange are what I used for the lyrics of the song. The structure of this song follows a progression of intro, verse 1, chorus 1, verse 2, chorus 2, and outro. And I used 8 lines in stanza 1 to make up the first verse, which is the sunrise scene of my song adaptation. I'll read it out. And the sun does arise and make happy the skies. The merry bells ring to welcome the spring. Sing louder around to the bells' cheerful sound, while our sports shall be seen on the echoing green. And I took another 8 lines from stanza 3 to form the second verse, which is the sunset scene of the song. You would have noticed that I made a little adjustment here. I changed the sequence of the first 4 lines in the stanza. The former two lines switch positions with the latter two lines so that the line "the sun does descend" starts the second verse in the same manner as the lines "the sun does arise" introduces the first verse of the song. And I will read out the second verse. The sun does descend, and our sports have an end. Till the little ones weary, no more can be merry. Like birds in their nest, are ready for rest, and sport no more sing on the darkening green. The chorus part usually highlights the core message of the whole song. For the lyrics of the chorus, I used the last four lines from stanza 2. Such were the joys when we are girls and boys, in our youth time we sing on the echoing green. The word "such" is an important word in the poem and as well as in the chorus. It appears twice in the line "such were the joys," which indicates that the youthful memories are triggered by the children's playful scenes and are starting to come back to life gradually and slowly down the memory lane. And I think it actually serves as a transitional point, a connecting point between these contrary states, between reality and memories, between the present time and the past, between children and old folks, between joy and woe. And in my vocal parts, I used a few long bluesy notes here to render the word "such" in a way to emphasize its semantic and structural function. And the importance of the phrase "on the echoing green" is also quite obvious here because it is the title of the whole poem and it appears at the end of each of the three stanzas. And though the phrase changes into "on the darkening green" in the last stanza, it does not affect that it is a typical refrain or a hook line that should be repeated as the most memorable and catchy part in a poem as well as in a song. So I sing several times of this refrain in the chorus part to strengthen this effect. And and these are some of the main points of the textual adaptation I did for this poem. To get a better sense of the song adaptation, I'd like to invite everyone to watch a short video clip of my performance of this song. And please open this link I have sent in the chat. And, and for the sake of time, please just watch the selected time section starting from 2:39 to 4:43. It is about 2 minutes long, and we will come back to the discussion immediately after that.
The sun does rise, let happy the sky. Merry bells ringing through Buckhorn sing louder around till the bells just sound. Stars shall be seen now going green. Oh, the echoing green.
I think that's good enough. And thank you for watching this performance. Hope you all enjoyed it. And in this time section, you heard me sing and playing verse 1, chorus 1 of the song adaptation. And this version is recorded in April 2019, and the instrumental setting includes two guitars and two vocals. I played the rhythm guitar and sang the lyrics, and my friend Chris played electric guitar with reverb and distortion sound effects. And with these lyrics and melodies in mind, now I will play a newer version of this song, which I published in 2020. And please have a listen. I will explain the differences between the two versions after uh, this video clip, this other clip.
In our sports and till little ones are weary, no more getting married. Let the grass in their eyes, they're ready for us. This world is no more seen on the dark and green. Such religions, and we are yours and ours. And now you stand see on the echoing green. Such religions, and we are yours and ours. And now you stand see on the echoing green.
Yeah, the 2019 adaptation is set in 4/3 time signature because I was trying to channel this song towards a waltz dance-like rhythmic pattern. And for the worst parts of the song, I used a right-hand finger-picking style with eighth notes going through the chord progression. And the eighth note progression is reminiscent of this kind of mixed feelings, joyful scenes of children playing on the green field under the oak tree as compared with the old man's nostalgic remembrance of the youthful days. And in the new adaptation, I changed the time signature from 4/3 to 4/4, and on rhythmic guitar, I adopted a syncopated eighth note strumming pattern with stresses on every offbeat for the first part. This rhythmic pattern is commonly used in reggae music. In the chorus section of the 2020 adaptation, the emotional exertion in the vocals is largely reduced and made gentler. I, I added more vocal tracks for this new version, and the overall volumes of these vocal tracks are lowered down, and the positions of the vocal tracks in the mixing are pushed a little backward. And in the meantime, percussions, bass lines, strumming guitar, and the synthesizer sound effects come into play and interact with the vocals. And the 2019 adaptation has a more protruding vocal line that is being emphasized in the whole musical settings. While in the 2020 adaptation, I treat the vocals as one equal part as the other instruments ongoing concurrently, so that more sound details and instrumental interplays are provided and presented to the listeners who could freely choose what sonic parts they would want to hear more. And when the same words and with the same melodies appear in this new musical context. And that's all for my presentation today. And thank you for your time and presence. And hope you all enjoyed the music. And thank you.